We recently recorded an episode where we talked about our first full swap experience. It was quite memorable for us, and a lot of you really liked that episode as well. As a matter of fact, it's been our most popular video up to this point. But we had some questions. We had some listener comments that we really think we can address. So we're going to, in this episode, talk about the things that we didn't talk about in that episode.
I'm excited. I love listener questions and comments because it sparks conversation, and we get to sit here and have more fun conversations with each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you're going to read the comment, right? Or the question?
Yes, I'm going to. All right, so here's the question. This was from The Ranch Hand. It's too bad you didn't discuss the psychological reactions you had. Seems like for the first time doing that full swap, it was just like a nothing burger. I was kind of curious what your reactions were to see each other in that situation with another person. That would have been a great topic, as I know people that have tried, and some of the emotional stuff that came up around it was pretty intense. All right, let's talk about some of our first time feelings, because that was one part of his questions. And I guess the first part of that is, why did we do it?
And that's easy for me because we knew them pretty well. We had been on several meet and greets. We had been on a boat day meet and greet gathering. So, gosh, I think we had probably spent a good, I don't know. It's hard to calculate how many hours. We've known them for many, many hours on several occasions.
Right.
So talking with them, hanging out with them was really lovely, and I felt extremely comfortable around her. And I think it was mostly, well, it was the both of them, but her first, my comfort level with her first is key, and has honestly always been key for me in a lifestyle. If I'm not having a connection with the woman, it's not happening. I have to be 100% comfortable with her. I mean, not 100%, but very comfortable.
So in your mind, was it the relationship with the couple, or was it more just the vibe? You know, the hormones were going and everything was super exciting.
It was definitely what I said before, which was the amount of time we spent getting to know them, that they were easy to get to know, that there was a good match, right? There was a good gel and nice flirtatious vibe that was going on. And I was really comfortable with the wife, very comfortable. And I think the environment also probably helped, especially at that particular party that night that we decided to full swap with them, because it was a comfortable environment. Well, it was a little uncomfortable for me because there was a fair amount of people I didn't know. So I wasn't completely comfortable in that home because I'd never been to the home before.
Right.
I'd never met a bunch of those people. But that couple that we full swapped with, I knew them, and they were my point people to kind of gravitate to. So I guess in a sense that really helped me be more comfortable because I was gravitating to them.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and I'm pretty sure we mentioned this in the original episode, and it was, we'd spend a long time talking about it and debating it, and they kind of checked a bunch of boxes for us in terms of comfort level and attractiveness. We just thought that they were the right couple to do that. Like if we were going to do it with anybody, it was going to be with them.
Yeah.
Because it just made the most sense. I think we'd spent a lot of time with them. Not just familiarity with different events, but like the conversations we'd had with them. Like we'd kind of gotten to know them pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was, I guess, unusual past that point, because throughout our journey, we've basically just been DTF. We rarely spent that much time getting to know a couple. I think they were rare.
Yeah.
And honestly, our first time was lovely. It was nice. I'm glad it was them.
Yeah. And to be clear, DTF in this particular instance or this scenario was down to full swap.
Right.
Because we hadn't full swapped yet.
Right.
So down to do other shenanigans, everything but that.
Right.
I remember, so the next question really in here is about watching each other. And while it was going on, I don't think we watched each other that much. I mean, we kind of looked over to see what was going on, and there was definitely some conversation between the two couples. But I don't think I spent a lot of time like watching what was going on. I was pretty focused on what I had going on.
I do remember watching, and I remember being, it was probably, I don't remember. I do remember watching.
Right.
Because I remember seeing her,
yes.
and I remember reaching over and touching her.
Yes.
And asking to touch her, and she was touching me. We were holding hands, and I was caressing her. But what, as far as watching goes, I didn't watch a whole lot of you two having sex.
Right.
Because I was focused on my own experience.
Yes. And that's kind of what I was thinking.
I did watch you two just a little bit after he and I had gotten up. You guys were still going, of course.
Of course.
Which has been your MO through most of our experience. And yes, you're welcome to all those ladies. You're welcome. But I will say, watching you have sex with somebody else at that point, I know for a fact was not a level of comfort for me. And I've talked about this in other podcasts before. It really didn't get comfortable for me until, oh my gosh, I don't know, 6-7 years in.
Yeah.
It was a very long time.
It wasn't until a couple of years ago, really, that you got comfortable with that.
Yeah. And it wasn't like we were swinging like once a year or even twice a year.
Right.
We were very active.
Yeah.
So the reason for that is watching pulled my focus away from my own experience. So I didn't like to do that. Plus, it didn't really do anything for me. It didn't turn me on. Right. It didn't make me jealous. It didn't make me envious. It just did nothing.
Yeah.
So I was usually more interested in what was going on with the other woman. I wanted to touch her. I wanted to be next to her. And by default, I would see what was going on, obviously, the pleasure you were giving her, but wasn't really like,
that wasn't
wanting
the
to
thing
see it
for you. Yeah.
Whereas the guys are like, oh yeah, I want to watch. And I'm like, I could care less. So it was interesting. And I don't still to this day, don't really know what switched in my mind. And maybe it is that we are at a level of comfort with one another, 12 years in? Because most people that our age that start swinging have been in 20-year relationships, 30-year relationships. They've got that bond. They've had kids together. We didn't have kids together. we weren't married when we started. We didn't have that rock foundation.
Right.
So I'm guessing that's maybe what it was. I wish I knew what switched in my mind, but now I love watching. In fact, I love watching to the point where I will actually just sit back and eat the popcorn and not even participate. I'll just watch.
It's been a pretty big shift recently.
Which is nice.
For sure.
It's fun. I actually enjoy that now.
Yeah. You really like it. It's a lot of fun for you.
Yeah.
And when I was describing how I didn't watch, I think a lot of it was the environment, and other than kind of looking over to see what was going on. But I think a lot of it too, I do enjoy watching and kind of sitting back on the bed and watching you do your thing. And that kind of didn't happen that night all that much. I think we were really kind of compartmentalizing and being focused on what was going on. So
and our brains were overwhelmed with all the stimulus. There's so many things that are running through your mind, and of course, hormones coursing through your body that you you kind of just are in it.
Yeah.
I did want to articulate a little bit better what I like about watching now.
Sure.
And it comes, I think, to that concept of compersion, where I can truly sit back and enjoy your enjoyment.
Oh, yeah.
And enjoy the enjoyment of somebody else that's receiving pleasure from you, and hearing those sounds of her pleasure and knowing exactly what you're doing to her gives me joy, gives me pleasure, gives me satisfaction that she's deriving pleasure from an act that you're doing. And I don't know, it just makes me warm and fuzzy. And that like I said, believe is the compersion aspect.
Yeah, it's like a public service, we're doing a good thing for the community.
It is. We're building the swinger community one
couple at a time. Yeah.
I said it a little differently. If you caught that.
So one of the things that was in this original comment was about the emotional content of what we were feeling at the time. And I don't think we had really strong feelings. Like the jealousy didn't come up.
No.
Envy didn't come up. And I think part of that was we probably over-processed it in our heads in terms of like how we wanted it to go and who it was and all of that. Like we'd kind of played it out how it was going to go in our heads, and it went really well. Now it could have gone poorly, and it may have changed our situation, which is probably what happens with a lot of people, where they try some stuff and then those deep emotions come out and it brings up past traumas or relationship issues or whatever, and it just, there it is. It's like right there in your lap and you have to deal with it. We didn't have a lot of that. Now you'd had a previous relationship where he had cheated on you, but I kind of think we'd addressed a lot of that stuff within the first 6 months or a year of swinging.
Yeah.
So
a lot of conversations around that.
Yeah. And that trauma didn't kind of come back. We'd kind of put that aside. And he was a guy you were dating. I'm not trying to diminish how that was, but it's not like your husband of 10 years was cheating on you.
Right.
The guy was kind of a tool to begin with, and you'd had red flags all along, and then he finally did it. And so it was kind of
bad on me. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, really bad on him, but just, it wasn't too unexpected, but it was disappointing, I think, for you.
Well, yeah.
That he cheated.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it rocked my world. It made me question, how could I not know?
Right.
About what does that say about me as a person to not be able to acknowledge those red flags and honor those and why didn't I see it?
Right.
And so I felt like, wow, I can't even pick a good one. Right. So it became a beating myself up about it as well.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't very kind to yourself about that.
No.
And realizing that the guy was kind of sneaky. He did all the right things because he was quite the salesman.
Oh yeah. He was 100% a really good, salesman. Yeah. Now, there was something else you were touching on where we have experienced envy. I have and
Certainly.
Jealousy with another couple early on. And that played into your connection with her was stronger than my connection with him.
Right.
So you and the woman were just vibing off of each other big time, just massively. And me and the guy weren't so much. And I am also a slow warmer. So, and you aren't. So you're, 10 miles down the road and I'm way back here.
Yeah.
So when we are at a sync in that way, it has bothered me quite a bit.
Yep.
And I still work on that a little bit, and I know that about myself. I'm aware of it, and I use the appropriate language to tell myself, we're fine, we're all good. Or I will ask for something that I need in that moment,
right?
Rather than just let the train get away from us, because it's a group activity.
Yeah, and after that, it happened a couple times, small handful of times. I was better at trying to keep pace with where you were, and we both did a better job of like checking in with each other to see, where we were before we committed to anything, et cetera, et cetera. It was an unusual circumstance that one particular night, and if I remember right, that was the one in Reno.
Yeah,
poker nights, and
he knows exactly.
I knew exactly what it was, and it's interesting because we've run across that couple a few times.
Yeah,
and I don't have the same reaction to her as I did that one night. There was just something about her that night that just pressed all my buttons. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the next question we had from the same gentleman or from somebody else was, what happened to that couple? And I thought we talked a little bit about that, but we can talk about it again.
Yeah. They went through some drama in their lives, and it was rough. It was rough.
Ugly.
Yeah.
They ended up getting a divorce. She ended up getting really sick. She's better now. There's a massive custody fight. The husband was doing shady things or accusing her of doing things to get full custody.
Right. It was your typical, like, really ugly divorce.
Dirty, but to the point where, he was filing false reports and things like that.
Right.
Whether it was true or not, I don't really know because I didn't know them that well.
We tended to back off at that point because that wasn't anything we wanted to get involved in. I had just been through a divorce and didn't want to deal with all that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and this happened a couple of years after. We continued to interact with them and hang out with them, and I'm pretty sure we had sex with them a number of times after that.
Before we found out about he was a serial cheater.
Yeah, which was a whole other thing.
And they were pretty heavy drug users, which we didn't know about until later. So that came out as well. Giving drugs to their kids, things like that. Their kids were of age, but
they
still,
were adults, but
it was there was some really crazy dynamics, family dynamics going on there that weren't the most healthy in my humble perspective. But
yeah, there's kind of pros and cons with what they were doing in that particular case. And it's, I guess the closest equivalent that most people can deal with is, you know, your kid comes of age for drinking. And so
right.
you set them down and you have your first drink with them in a controlled environment where
yes.
you know that they're safe, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they use the same rationale with the ecstasy, but
right. I mean, there's pros and cons to that. I can see both sides.
Yeah.
But
it blurs the lines a little bit, but yeah.
All in all, they were lovely people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Things got ugly. I'm sure they're still lovely people. A lot of challenges. The other unfortunate part was the family, their extensive family was informed of their lifestyle.
Right.
And that made it even more
yeah, they kind of
ugly.
outed. I don't know if they outed themselves or if he kind of outed them. Something happened and the family found out, and
they pretty much lost all their family, which
it was bad.
Was also very tragic. So it was a very stressful time.
Yes, for sure.
Stressful time. And then as a result, they got out of the lifestyle, and we haven't heard from them at all. We don't hear or see them in any of those circles.
She moved out of state, and he, as far as I knew, they moved. They sold their house and moved away from our area. So we've never run into them again.
No, never.
So
yeah.
So
that was that.
The next question we got was, when was our next full swap after that first one? So we've ripped the Band-Aid off now.
Yeah.
Pulled the pin on the whatever, and we're going. We're loose.
We're loose.
And I'm trying to remember who the next full swap was. It was definitely condoms.
Always.
Yeah. After that, it was definitely with condoms all the time. I would have to say it was probably at one of the big events, and it doesn't stand out. It wasn't our first, so it doesn't stand out as much as the first time.
Right.
And, you know, it was probably Miss America and our bondage buddy.
Oh. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. That may not have been the next one, but that was like one of the first ones after that, where it was a big Halloween event, and we ended up being next door neighbors to them. And
we had a really hard time trying to find other couples. I do remember trying to date other couples from the the adult dating sites.
Yep.
And we'd had a couple dinner dates and drink dates. And
dinner date was a big mistake.
It was too much commitment.
Yeah.
We were locked into a booth. We couldn't get up. It was just not a great experience as I destroy my studio here. And we couldn't figure out what we were doing wrong.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we finally got everything right, and now everything was wrong again. And it was really disheartening.
Sure.
And that's when we found our groove with orgies and being DTF.
Right.
And we made some really great connections in that regard. And that's where we hit our stride.
Yeah. A lot of after parties at the hotel events were, I think, where we spent most of our playtime, for sure. And we could probably say there were 3 or 4 couples that we ended up actually hooking up with the dinner date kind of drink date thing, the one-on-one situations.
I don't think so, but
literally like 2 or 3.
Oh, maybe
at the time, and some of them turned really weird. We've got some weird stories.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pull up the comments from from this episode, because we might as well, right? We're reading one comment. We'll read through a few more. Here's the first comment, top of the list. And they learned from us, or they're taking their own twist on it. And they said, my wife wants a full swap, but I was not sure. Having both listened to your experience, we have decided that we will, but with condoms.
Yay. Good.
Good. Condoms, good. Someone had asked if we had the HPV vaccine, and if I replied at the time, but to let you know, if you haven't read the comments, we do not have the HPV vaccine because we're too old and it's only administered up to a certain age.
Right.
And once you're past that age, they don't actually give out that vaccine. So if you're within the range, check with your doctor. It's worth getting vaccinated for.
I do have an update on that, however, because we are in a community that we will list in this video that we love. I have the amazing pleasure of being part of the ladies section part of that community. Anyone can, well, you can't, but any lady can. And one of the women asked her general practitioner to give her that vaccine, even though she was past that age limit.
Interesting.
She had to fight to get it.
I just didn't think it was effective.
I think what it is a little more risky to your health as you start to age.
That makes sense.
And she really wanted it. She checked with her doctor and they agreed, okay. But they had to really fight for it. And
Interesting.
I swear she said her husband got it too. And I didn't think that was a thing for men.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just her, but she did get it after that age limit. So if you want it, push for it.
Yeah. Definitely talk to your physician and see if it's an option and what the risks are.
Yeah.
This comment, things haven't changed a lot since we were in the lifestyle 40 years ago. Our very first experience was attending a swingers dance with maybe 75 or so people there. We got invited to a party after the dance, to which we obviously said yes. You guys took a full year and a half for your first full swap? ? We did it at the first party and never looked back. It was great. I'll leave it there for now.
I know a lot of people that have done that, but
yeah, jump in both feet.
Right.
No regrets.
Yes. And we've seen people do that and then leave the lifestyle 6 months later. But we've also seen people do that have been together. That's, I think, the key. They've been together for many, many years. We hadn't been together for very long.
No.
Like a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, and there's the ranch hands comment. I will go past that because we did this whole episode just for you. Not just for you, but this particular comment says, don't sugarcoat what the other couple did. They lied, or at least one of them did, which is true. And we've commented on that a number of times that.
Yeah, they did.
Infidelity in the lifestyle is almost worse than infidelity in a committed monogamous relationship. They're both bad. But in a non-monogamous relationship, everybody else who's engaged with that couple is also experiencing that infidelity. So if they're out there playing unsafely and maybe contracting STIs, any of their partners that are in the lifestyle are also going to be experiencing that. And if they're lying about it, oh, we're exclusive, or we're a limited group and only our group do we play bareback with, which we've heard a number of times.
Oh, yeah.
Based on our experience, that's not really enough to go by because...
And it's not really true.
People kind of step out from their relationships, or they forgot, oh yeah, there was that one other girl or that other couple or that unicorn.
Yep.
Or that one time at band camp.
Yeah, or you're at the club and you just hit it off with somebody and you want to seize the moment. You're not going to be like calling up your couple at 10 o'clock or 1 a.m. in the morning. Hey, I know we have an agreement that I'm not supposed to be bareback with anybody else, but can I with this girl tonight? It's 1 a.m. Can you give it back to me? Hello?
You just need a group text message and you just send it out to everybody. And we're like, we're going to get down with this other one. You've all been notified. There you go.
Yeah.
This was a nice comment. That was a great story. You both sound like you are a wonderful couple and very nice people. Thank you for sharing that.
Aw.
Someone else asked, did you do oral?
No.
I don't think we
did not. No, we did not. We went straight to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No foreplay. Straight to business. That time. Most of the rest of the time, we're all about the foreplay.
Yeah.
Never heard about this before. It sounds like a fleeting experience. How does it affect quality of your life overall? I'm not judging. The effects of intimacy stay with me long after the real-time experience. I think this was a general comment about swinging in general.
Yeah. That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Are we going to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think swinging in general is a series of fleeting experiences. You remember them, right? They stick with you over time, but they're like these brief, exciting moments.
Yeah.
It's not the day-to-day excitement that you get with your significant other or your partner. It's random. It's kind of like a hot flash.
Yeah. Yes. It's like going on a vacation and you get this high from going on vacation and you're just like, oh my God, that was the best vacation. Right. And then it over time, it peters out. Now, I will say that level of intimacy how do I want to say? I didn't experience it until we introduced a single male to our dynamic.
Right, which we just talked about in our last episode.
Right. So for intimacy, I didn't experience that. And maybe part of that is that we just didn't know the couples that well. We were in orgies, we were DTF. We knew them well enough to have good conversation and things like that, but we didn't know them. Mm-hmm. And we were in play situations that were always public and exposed because we're exhibitionists. So we aren't having quiet, intimate, slow moments with the lights in the bedroom and no one else is around and the music is, but we're not that that's what intimacy is, but I always think intimate's going to it's going to be more focused.
Right. And
we have had a few sessions with a few couples where, those were focused moments, but I didn't get that. I guess it was intimate. Yeah, I guess it was. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in a non-public space, it's more intimate, but the feels from which is different than intimacy was way more apparent with the single male.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good distinction between emotional attachment or hormonal attachment and having an intimate moment with someone. Because I think we've had a small number of really intimate experiences with particular couples.
Ooh, Chico was a really good.
That was a really good one. Mm-hmm. And I think the New Year's party with all the lights where at the end of the night, it was 4 a.m. and we hadn't full swapped with any of the couples there. It was just soft swap with everybody.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And it was very intimate and everybody was really in touch with each other. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was like this pink glow in the room, and everyone was just mushy and cuddly and glowy, and yeah, it was lovely.
It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question. Was there a doctor there to test everybody for STDs? No. And that's not how it works. So
there probably was a doctor there, but
there probably was a doctor.
He wasn't testing.
No. And testing really doesn't work until you are starting to show symptoms or that you can run a test and detect it. And so the viral or bacterial load has to build up in your system before it's even visible in tests.
Right.
So you could have sex with someone and get a blood test right that minute, and it's not going to tell you anything, even if they are just overflowing with STIs.
Right.
It just doesn't work like that.
It's still going to take anywhere from 7 to, sometimes 7 days, sometimes to like 90 days for some of the STIs.
Or longer,
right?
For some of them.
Which is why you always retest and not have partners in between.
Yes, and using condoms. So learn from our mistake. Not that we ended up with an STI, but
no,
it was a mistake for sure. Hi guys, love your videos. My partner and I are new to this, and we are getting the impression that most of the sex at that event you were describing was unprotected. Yours clearly was, as you described it. What about the other folks? You didn't mention any lube and condom jars supplied by the host. I thought this was the norm. Is this typical in larger events like this? Cruises, swinger clubs? We're not judging. We're just trying to get ready for our first time. Typically, yeah, there are lubes and condoms in a room. There's a small basket. It's hit and miss.
Depends on the venue. If it's a club, right, in Texas or other areas that can have a sex club, then yes, they will provide those.
Right.
Larger events will provide those. But for the most part, women are picky about their lube and men are picky about their condoms. And women are also picky about their condoms because some have latex allergies and some can't use spermicides in their condoms. So most women bring their own. And a lot of people did bring their own. This was a house party. They didn't supply that.
Yeah.
So everyone just brought their own. We brought our own.
We did. We
just...
And I will say, I don't recall condoms at hedonism.
No.
And I don't recall ever seeing condoms on the cruises.
Right.
So really big events, typically not. Your average house party, yeah, typically they'll put some lube out and some condoms, the house parties that we've been to. But that's...
Yeah, about half of them.
Yeah, it's up to the discretion of the hosts.
Yeah.
In terms of unprotected sex, I don't recall if unprotected sex was the norm at that party.
I don't know. There's a lot of shenanigans in the hot tub, so perhaps.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't really paying attention. Like you want to look and enjoy what's going on in front of you, but you're not like analyzing,
Right.
You're not like being a creeper.
And we weren't looking specifically for that either.
Right. Sometimes light is low. Sometimes you don't see it.
And you
got to catch somebody
fun
in the moment putting one on. You can't always see it on somebody. So it was a little bit hard to tell.
This is another one. The no condom was a shocker. After being in the lifestyle for a few years, I had a repeat partner that just took my condom off and kept going. Later, after an HIV scare, I told my wife at the time I was out. We tested negative, but our usual couple tested positive. A few couples at that time tested positive. We were lucky to get out negative. We saw a few couples split and it wasn't pretty. This was back when we lived in Central Florida. Big scene there. Be safe. Condom, condom, condom. Yeah. 100% agree. it was one of those like heat of the moment things, and it could have been very bad.
It could have been really bad. And I honestly, I attribute that to just our level of confidence, speaking up, using our words.
Right.
We were so excited in the moment. We didn't want to ruin the mood. It wouldn't have ruined the mood. We didn't know that. We were awkward.
Yeah.
It wasn't our best decision, but we rectified that very quickly because we got scared.
Yeah. This is another STI question. One major thing that prevents me from doing that is that we might get some venereal disease. How do you know the other people are disease free? I can't bring myself to get with another girl not knowing anything about her. Any tips?
You don't
know. It is a level of risk, but that is exactly why you wear condoms, because you put as much protection as you can on.
And you do a risk assessment. We did our own risk assessment that fit us and our life. And we did our research. We researched all the risks for all the STIs, how they're cured, what happens when you get them, how long what does it look like when you get one?
Right.
How long does it last? We went to the CDC and a whole bunch of other websites and did our research.
Yep.
And our level of risk at the time we started was different when we were raising kids.
Yeah.
Versus, not raising kids. So and as we've progressed in the lifestyle, we've learned more about STIs and medicines have changed. They've got PrEP now.
Yep.
And other preventative medicines. What's the other one? Not PrEP. PrEP is the preventative one, but what's the other one?
There's a PEP also.
A PEP. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So your risk level may be different based on, what you've got going on in your life and who you need to be there for, your health, your personal health, how you feel about that. I have a really good friend who is a professed germaphobe, and she is really, really picky about what she will do and with who and how. And if you want to have sex with her, you basically have to walk into the room like you're a surgeon. Yeah.
Suit me up, doctor.
Yeah. So everyone's different.
Yeah, and a number of other people commented on, STIs just in general. And one thing I want to be really clear about, because I think there's a misconception with swingers that, it's a free-for-all and everybody's just having sex with everybody else, and, STIs are pretty rampant. It's actually pretty low in terms of STIs, because people are being careful and they are using condoms generally.
They are washing up in between partners, and
they're
changing.
And there's a lot of mutual
and
respect for other couples, and so you don't want to do that to somebody else.
Right.
I will say that if you are a serial monogamist or you are a single person and you're out having a good time and you're sowing your wild oats, you're probably at a higher risk because these are random connections, and you don't know very much about the person that you're dating at that particular time or hooking up with from a bar. So understand that risk is risk, and if you're not playing protected, then you are running a higher risk. So,
and we have run into couples that are unapologetic about their position, and they say, you know what, I don't care. I don't like condoms. I play bareback, and you know what? If I get something, there's a medicine for it.
Right. We've met a number of couples that say
and that's their perspective. So
we still choose to wear condoms with them,
which is their right to have that position. And usually we don't play with people with that perspective.
That's true. We know them, but we don't.
Well, yes, because you can still get STIs around the condom, depending on what's going on in the area.
Correct. Yes, condoms do not make you bulletproof.
No.
but they do go a long way to helping.
Yeah.
So if there is a known STI, there's definitely things that you can do to help with that.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it's the PrEP or the PEP, but they are a prophylactic treatment pre-STI. So talk to your doctor. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, in general, I think most people were concerned about the STIs, the potential STI scares, and just generally the reaction and whatever happened to that couple. So I think we covered just about all of that.
Perfect. Well, keep commenting and keep questioning. I really love answering these questions. What about you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's
And
fun.
if you have a question that you want to ask us directly, feel free to call us at 916-538-0482.
Or go to our website and use our little hotline. It's really cool. And we'll mask your voice and change your name if you want it. So just let us know. And you can record there as well because it's completely anonymous on the website. And we'll put you on air. We'll put you right on the podcast on YouTube.
We'd love to hear your comments. So let us know. And as we say, keep learning, keep growing, and keep it sexy.